All right, we are live, man. GYG War Report show. As you can see, if you're watching the video, at least on my end, the crew, for all of y'all that are at least listening and not watching, we do this show Philly via Florida. We've been doing it for years now. This is how the crew Voltron is now assembled. But we're trying to give you the best quality possible, audio, video, what have you. And I had to up the quality on my audio. So that's why you see, I record all these shows from the confines of my home studio. So I just thought, why don't we just kind of piece everything together and start giving y'all more quality, man. So I'm your co-host, Roberto Flack. ROD and Coltrane. I think are gonna be joining me in a little bit, but yo, it is a very I don't want to say lackluster in any disrespectful way to Canelo and Danny Jacobs, but I gotta say, it is obviously fight week. I'm not in Vegas. We're obviously, the crew. We're all gonna watch the fight this weekend. Canelo, Danny Jacobs. But I gotta say that this has been a very lackluster like build up and fight week where you're starting to wonder if this has something to do with the fact that people haven't jumped on the zone yet. And there was an article I read earlier today where I don't know if it was Ring Magazine or one of these articles, these publications was saying like, well, maybe pay-per-view isn't dead just yet. Now we're hearing some of the numbers from the Khan or the Crawford Khan fight. Look, none of us thought that fight was going to do any kind of business. I'm hearing 150,000 buys or maybe a little less than that. Uh, Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia doing 400K. Like when you look at the demographic, it being in Dallas, Mikey Garcia being a Mexican, Mexican American, and Spence being from that area, it's situations like that where a pay-per-view makes sense. And look, to do 400K in the modern era is a hell of a statement, considering all the platforms and the ease, I should say, that streaming is becoming for a lot of people, man. It just is what it is, man. I mean, we want to actually talk about that in an episode in the very near future. We want to get sleep on and talk about that because that is a major topic. Like what we've been saying, the disconnect with the former diehard fans that are becoming casual fans of the sport because we just don't know where to watch these fights. Now, before I get into we get into the main event from this weekend, the card, or, this weekend and the card. Now, for those of you who are aware, man, the fact that this fight is on the zone, meaning, Canelo, Danny Jacobs, you're not getting just the 4 fights. Because for those who aren't aware, man, a pay-per-view card consists of sometimes 12, 13, 14 fights that start earlier in the day and lead all the way up to the main event. What the zone offers, and I like this, is that they show you the very first fight until the main event culminates. So I like that. I mean, I think that's pretty dope. That's a dope concept. I always want. I mean, because there's a lot of times you see these fighters you end up seeing years down the road, becoming stars and such, and that's where a lot of times they get like these little features early on a card. So, but I'll get to that card in a minute. Some news that broke over the week, well, really yesterday, as far as for it to be made official. We obviously saw that Big Baby Miller, failed 3 drug tests, had to bow out of the Anthony Joshua fight. He's been making his rounds saying, don't believe the hype, shot the public enemy. But I think we got ROD on the line, man. What's popping, ROD? You hear me?
Oh yeah, what you got the big third base mic?
I got the mic popping now. We're
You got the
gonna
got the
start
Pete
busting
got the Pete
freestyles here in a minute.
you got the Pete Nice mic.
Yeah, word up, man. So, yeah, man.
Sorry, I was with wifey. We was watching. I couldn't stop. We was watching Black Summer, man. I watched the end of it, man. It
Oh,
is
yo.
You liked
I've
it,
been meaning to get into that, man.
man.
I've wanted. That's like that's on the queue. I mean, yo, like my queue is ridiculous right now as far as shows and movies, man. Like we've been backed up with all the Oscar movies, like
So
all in the queue, like ready to go, and it's like finding the time, and then the queue just adds up, man. But that Black Summer, that show that's definitely on the queue.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna like it, but then you're gonna probably be. We won't spoil it,
Nah.
but it's not a it's not a Morales type of family type of flow, man. Like
Ah,
you
word.
yeah, you're gonna be smacking me in my head. Like why you get me to watch this crap? I just couldn't stop, man. I told wifey I'd watch it. It was the last 3 episodes, half hour, and I was just like,
Yeah.
she's like, you gonna get on? Hurry up and get on your car. I'm like, nah, I don't want to get on it. Then like they asked me, nah, I gotta be attentive on this one. So I apologize for my tardiness.
Nah, all good, man. All good. So I was saying, man, it's fight week for Canelo, Danny Jacobs, but it's like, don't you feel it's been a little? I mean, we're gonna get into the fight, in a minute, but like, it's been a very lackluster, quasi lackluster lead up to this fight, and just fight week is kind of just But like, do you think part of that has to do with the fact that, like, we complain about pay per view, but the pay per view aspect puts, at least still right now, puts the fight in people's faces more so than people jumping onto the zone and say, hey, yeah, I'm going to watch that fight this weekend. Now, with me saying that, the fight is available in the movie theater. The fight is available at your local bar or what have you. But like, what's been your opinion as far as like the lead up going in, as far as get the overall hype for this fight?
I think it's been lackluster to say the least. When I think about it, you know, I believe that Mikey and Earl Spence has had better lead up to this. I believe,
I
to
agree.
be honest, you're gonna laugh. I believe Terrence Crawford and Jeff Horn had better lead up to this. And the only reason why is because everybody was trying to. I seem like everybody was trying to get that ESPN Plus app. I just remember that last year. Everybody was trying to get the app. Everybody's trying to make it work. All that stuff. So I'm saying all this because you're right. When I think about this, I don't have casual fans asking me about this fight as they would with Triple G and Canelo. Now, granted, none of them knew who a Triple G or Canelo was. They heard Canelo from fighting Floyd,
Right.
but it wasn't like Triple G was a household name. Let's keep it a bean. Like he was out there, but it wasn't like, I think he had a bigger name than Terrence Crawford or Earl Spence at that time. But
Yeah,
it
and the
wasn't
Mexican
like
fan base and the whole, yeah.
right, exactly. But Danny Jacobs, I mean, if people know who Canelo is, I mean, know who Triple G is, if people say they know who he is, then everybody should know who Danny Jacobs is, because obviously there was, some pseudo, semi controversy with that fight. Not with us, but with other people.
Mhm.
So, again, he's one of the Freddy victims that made it out of the dream alive, that made it out the episode alive.
Like the chick from part
So,
three, the blonde
yeah,
chick
the
from
chick from
part
part three.
three.
Yeah, so you would think that people would know who Danny Jacobs is, but that's neither here nor there, because at the end of the day, Canelo is such a big star, and he could be the way he's being promoted, could be I would say one of the faces of boxing. Next, obviously you still got Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and him in terms of cash cows, like,
Oh,
or
he's
however you do it.
definitely, yeah, Canelo for sure. Like, no doubt.
Right. So you have, yeah. So if you have, like, listen, I have not seen one commercial, man,
Mm.
come across my screen.
For this
I haven't
fight,
seen
I've seen
for
DAZN
this fight.
commercials, but I haven't seen one for this fight.
Now, when I watched the Avengers, I did see a DAZN, ad in the movie theater.
Mhm.
But again, not like we would. So to your point, to wrap it up, to me, it's been a lackluster, promotion of this fight, man. And I think that this fight is going to be huge. I think it's going to be big in terms of performance.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're gonna break down the fight in a minute. But one thing I wanted to talk about, man, that made the news yesterday is, we saw the whole thing with Big Baby Miller bow out, failed 3 drug tests, and at the 11th hour, literally, well, almost, Eddie Hearn and DAZN and Matchroom, whoever, they're scrambling for an opponent, like even to the point where Eddie Hearn is like hearing questions from reporters, like, why not Luis Ortiz, and that's like a whole nother situation going on now. And but we found out not yesterday, but a couple days ago, at least as far as us getting the confirmation that this was going to happen, and then it got fully confirmed yesterday. Andy Ruiz, who just fought not too long ago, will be replacing Big Baby Miller against Anthony Joshua June 1st, Madison Square Garden on DAZN. Now, here's the caveat to that. Andy Ruiz just signed a deal with Al Heyman and the PBC. That's where that fight was, his last fight was. I forgot what card it was on. It was recent, one of these recent cards. And he's fighting on DAZN against, the guy that we all want to see fight, another particular heavyweight that fights with Al Heyman on the PBC. So that's happening. I really, we'll touch on that, when the time comes, but I do find it interesting that there seems to be like a relationship or a dialogue between Al Heyman and DAZN that might have been stemming back from the obvious, the meeting, or the negotiations that did take place. Like, this is not fairy tales and rumors. Like, these guys all sat in a room, and you have to think that there had to be some dialogue that was presented to open business down the road. This might be another situation where it's like, okay, well, these guys are apparently working, doing something, and you have a fighter who signed to Al Heyman now about to fight Anthony Joshua. So, yeah, it's the fight's one thing, but let me get your take as far as that whole situation is concerned, because there's another. We talked about it earlier in the chat, and I want to get your opinion on that. But, like, I guess, what do you think of the fight overall in relation, as far as, I guess, a fill-in fight, in relation to what we were going to get with Baby Miller?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not going to have the drama and the fireworks, I think, as a big Baby Miller fight. I mean, here's someone that came and, took the, as some would call it, Anthony Joshua's aura and just poked holes in it, by coming in there, doing his antics at the press conference, and then, like, kind of come up short right now. So everybody's expecting that fight because they had high drama. How do I like Ruiz as a replacement? I mean, again, this is what we're talking about, what the heavyweight division is, I mean, you got you have the Lakers, you have Boston, you have Golden State, you have Houston, and you have Milwaukee, all like the top of their divisions, and basically none of them are going to play each other, and that's Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and Big Baby Miller. So basically, they're all not going to fight each other. You know what I mean? So there you have it. Okay, so this is what we're left to. So now, the replacement is really Andy Ruiz, and this is what we're stuck with. And shout out to him for taking this type of fight, but he understands how to seize the moment too. And what I mean by that is, for somebody like Luis Ortiz, when this opportunity comes, again, I don't like the business side, but if this opportunity comes and you got an opportunity to really step up to that, to the plate, to that pinnacle, man, you got to seize the opportunity, man, especially with somebody like him who ducked you for a while, whether it's 10 million, 5 million, you step up to the plate
Mm.
and you fill in, and it's again, people may say, well, you've never been in a situation where there was a difference of $10 to $5 million, but the opportunity is what's there. He may not get another opportunity like that
Mm-hmm.
of that at his advanced age. So
Right.
again, when you ask me about what do I feel about a feeling, I'm like, this is the best feeling because it's not like Wilder is going to fight him. It's not like Tyson Fury's able to fight him. And at this point, Luis Ortiz priced himself out a little bit. So this is who we have. So we have ourselves a venue, but no fight. So
Mm-hmm.
now we have a fight now.
Right.
I
Right.
don't like it, but this is what we're reduced to right now.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, man. And you brought up a good point. That was actually a good analogy as far as I said this to somebody else too. Like, imagine having to watch the NBA like segregated into four leagues, and each four league had a champion. Like, how far is that removed from boxing? At least in the modern day,
Oh yeah,
you know what I
absolutely.
mean. So I think I mean, the fight itself, again, like we'll talk about it, down the road. But I agree, man. I mean, with what's available, this probably there isn't that many people to pick from where you could say like, yeah, that's a great feeling. So, like on one end, I'm not mad. Like it's like we were already kind of whatever about the Big Baby Miller fight. So that's why it's like I'm not like shrugging my shoulders. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. But one thing I wanted to talk about as it relates to this whole thing with the zone, and you have a PBC fighter that's gonna fight on their network. Okay. One guy we've been saying that is when you talk about like Terrence Crawford, who is needing a big fight in all his competitions across the street, right? You look at Jamal Charlo, right? Who, when you look at where he's at, there's no fights there. Okay, he's coming off this Korobov fight. I doubt he's gonna fight him again. So I'm looking at this Andy Ruiz situation, and granted, Jamal Charlo is much more well known than Andy Ruiz, but at the same time, if Andy Ruiz is taking a chance at fighting for, against the unified heavyweight champion, and trust me, he's getting paid, and it's on another platform, I can't see why Jamal Charlo, at the very least, can't entertain or go to Al and say, yo, like, why don't we get this Andrade fight going? Like, because he needs to get a strap around him. Where he's at right now, there's nothing there for him. And I don't know how long he's going to parade around as interim WBC champion. Like, you're going to fight Canelo within a calendar year? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think this is a good opportunity for Jamal at the very least, man, to venture and say, hey, man, let me get a crack at one of these fights. Triple G, one of those guys. I mean, eh, don't you think that should be an option for him, or at least that should be something he should be looking at as well at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, man. I was looking at him train this morning, and I was like, man, he is so good, man. Um, and obviously, some of it, was lost in that last fight. I'm not talking about the younger brother. I'm talking about Maul.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about Mel, who lost. I'm talking about Maul. And I know he had some trouble his last fight too. But I was just like, where does he go from here?
Right.
Like, to your point, like, so this guy has all this talent. So he looks strong as crap. It's like, where does he go from here, man? So now he's in that same situation, unfortunately, like that heavyweight division, like we said with Terrence Crawford, man. He is on that wrong side, and all the kids that went over to Roberto's house to play. You know what I mean? They're not even down the street anymore. So if you want to go play with your friends, they're down at Roberto's house. So that's really what it is, man. He's down the street looking for some friends, and they all went down to the other development, man, or down the other block. And It's a shame, man, because again, this is what we're reduced to. Now he
Mhm.
has to fight what he has left now, and it's kind of unfortunate. It's so crazy how different divisions have their own identity. So like if you think about it, the heavyweight division is just spread all over the place.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
When you talk about the middleweight division, they're all in the zone.
Right. Right.
When you talk about the welterweight division, these are marquee divisions. Everybody talked about divisions back in the day. It wasn't these intermediate divisions. It was really your lightweight, welterweight, you know, light heavyweight, and then your heavyweight. That's what everybody talked about. No one talked about, unfortunately, junior middleweights. Like they were like after effects, but like those were their major divisions. So when you think about it, each one has its own identity right now, and it's not from boxers; it's from promotional companies. So like the heavyweight is it's all over the place. Uh, Light heavyweight, I guess people are kind of transitioning, trying to move up the cruiser, and cruisers trying to move to heavy. But then you have a situation where you get your welters. I mean your middleweights. Your middleweights are DAZN. Your welters are PBC Al Heyman. So and I think your lightweights too are PBC Al Heyman as well. So like there you go. There goes everything.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's like I termed it, man. Like in the chats, interleague fighting. It's you have your little crew over there, little crew over there, little crew over there, and some others have better situations depending on the weight classes than others. I mean, you brought up a good point with the middleweights on the zone, welterweights with PBC. Even the junior welterweights, Bob has those, and then you start to think about Mikey. Like, is Mikey going to stay at 147? Because if he goes to 140, all the competitions with Bob, and it's like if you ain't working with Lomachenko or if you ain't working with Bob to fight Lomachenko, then like you're gonna fight a Ramirez or one of these guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's we talked about this, man. Like I don't ever recall a time in the sport where while we complained at one point about HBO and Showtime, this seems a lot more divided because we saw guys flip flop from HBO to Showtime and things, they worked it out, but the networks and the promoters have like this stranglehold on their talent. But I think more so for Al's guys, like they don't have promoter contracts, or most of them don't, I should say. Deontay Wilder has Lou DiBella, but who mind you works with everybody, man. Lou DiBella work like you see him on the zone, you see him on Showtime, you see him on Fox, on ESPN. This dude works with everybody. So it's just crazy that we're in a situation where somebody like Terrence Crawford, who you ROD, myself, train. I don't know about Sleep and the rest of the crew, but we rate Terrence Crawford number one. I don't know anybody in the crew that has him number two, but he's there, right? And let's just argue you have him at number two. It's crazy how a guy like that is in that position cannot land a big high level fight because he's not with such and such promoter or network. Like this has never happened in our sport, like ever. From my recollection.
Never. I mean, never to the when you think about it. I mean, listen, they were finding ways to make fights. Listen, when we didn't have the answers to Ray Leonard and
Yep.
Hag or what if, man, bring Ray Leonard out of retirement. Think about it. After that fight, years later, when we still wanted to find out who would win between Leonard and Hearns, we made that happen. They were basically businessmen at this point in
Mhm.
time. We made it happen. You know, Tyson and Lewis, we wanted to see that years later. They were on two different sides of the street. They made it happen. So I'm just saying that. But if you think about it, back then I believe that the boxers were more. I think they were businessmen, but I don't think that these promotional companies. It was so much of a fraternity
Mhm. That's
in
a
terms
good
of like
point.
where you are. Yep, where you are and who you belong with,
Hmm.
and if you don't belong here, man, and like I can't talk to you, and if you over there, we got beef. Like,
Hmm.
you know, it's turned more or less into like cheer
And you
competition. You know what I
right,
mean?
and you
Like,
know where that spilled over to? With the fans. It's like the fans take
oh, it
sides
did.
with these different outfits, but I'm like, it's a sport. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get having your favorite fighters. Don't get me wrong about that. But I see these people arguing for for either Al Heyman or arguing for Bob Arum or argue. I'm like, this is an entire sport. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to see all of these guys work together. And look, let's not act as if Bob had the controlling factor of the welterweight division that he wouldn't be interfighting too. Like, this isn't about pointing fingers. This is the entire landscape of the sport. And the unfortunate thing is that there's nobody to go in there and say, hey, you got to do this. Because my man here, Haplotype, was saying like the sanctioning bodies, if they would agree to rank the other champions, that it would be a huge step. But the thing is that when you peel back the onion, it's like these organizations are corrupt too, man. So how many diamond belts do we need? You know, like how many?
And I mean, and honestly, when Danny came back, he fought for a diamond belt. So
Right, man, right?
what determines when I think of diamond? I'm thinking when you think of records. You know, my wife and I were talking about. You know, we went out to eat one day, and we're talking about trivia questions about the highest recommendation or the highest no you know how do you say it, like accolade you can receive for an album, and
The
it was
diamond. Yeah,
diamond
yeah,
status,
I'm
right?
familiar.
When I
Yeah,
think of, yeah, and it was high. When I think of diamond status, I think of something that is like thriller worthy, like
mhm.
purple rain worthy, you know.
Illmatic.
Yeah, Illmatic. Danny came in and got a diamond belt after losing to Sean Porter. So
Word.
let that sink in, man. Like,
Yeah.
there was Floyd Mayweather came out of retirement, and oh no, he fought Conor McGregor, I believe, for a diamond belt.
No, it's
Like, just
crazy.
let
Yeah, it's nuts.
let that sink in, man. Like, so we've just basically tarnished the status of what diamond really is, man. By
Word.
you might as well go get yourself. Now, when that goes out, they go like, hey, here's a platinum WBC belt.
Word.
You know, it's just crazy. But again, man, it just goes to show you, man, where we are, man, and how divided the whole sport is, man. Like, you're gonna just, I mean, even Earl Spence, man, he talked about it. He said, man, Terrence Crawford not afraid of him. He said he's not afraid of Terrence Crawford. He just said, when you think about it, and you sent the video, Roberto, he
Mhm.
said he's just on the wrong side, man. He said
Yes.
to the point where, you know, Bob was talking about Lomachenko more so than promoting him. It was almost
Yep.
like,
Yeah, you saw that,
it,
right?
yeah, it was almost like Earl Spence was taking up for Terrence Crawford.
And I
But
think, yeah.
yeah, but again, this is the reason why these fights are never going to materialize is because of stuff like this. It's a huge divide, man.
I mean, you gotta. I mean, not to get out sidetracked, into the whole discussion of like the divide in the sport, which is like a discussion we have all the time. But you really start to wonder if Bud, Terrence Crawford is thinking about this long term deal he signed with Top Rank and ESPN. And look, man, we as much as we bash Bob and everything, man, like Top Rank's given us some of the greatest fights, but um, there comes a time, man, where things do change, and the people that were at the forefront sometimes lose sight of the changing of the guard, and in this case in boxing. I mean, we kind of see it in the music industry, man, as far as just the technology changing the entire industry, man, as far as how people get paid and how you listen to music and things as such, man. So yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like I feel with Terrence Crawford, man, whatever his next fight's gonna be, it's gonna say a lot about going forward what his tenure at Top Rank could potentially look like, man, because it's like if Bob is not going to work with Al Heyman in any capacity, Terrence Crawford's going to have a tough time convincing people outside of us that we know what he can do, but to the casual public that says, hey, well, Sean Porter and this guy are fighting, Keith Thurman's fighting this guy, Danny's fighting this guy, and like you're fighting somebody we've never heard of before. It's gonna be really tough, man. So I'm very interested to see, and I have seen some tidbits, man, where Terrence Crawford, I mean, not throwing shots, but you could kind of see his frustrations. It's starting to creep up to the surface, man. So
just like that kid again, who all the kids went down to Roberto house, and they like that one kid is down the street frustrated, like, what the heck? Where'd everybody go?
Moms didn't let him out. Like he ain't allowed to go.
Yeah. You can't go down that street. What you mean I can't go down that street? I told you to stay on this street right here. Stay on Top Rank Street. Don't go down to PBC Street.
Yo, they got that ice cream cake over there, but nah.
Yeah,
we got them ice cream sandwiches over here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Man, you missed it. You missed it, Terrence. You missed everything. We had fun.
Yeah, man. We had the crunchies and the whole nine.
Yeah, Mom was tripping, man. She wouldn't let me out the house.
Yo, you know what's funny though? It's like you got to think that, because listen, for a lot of y'all that don't know, like these guys all know each other. Like Broner and Crawford have played ball together. Like Sean Porter and Errol Spence, all these guys, they all know each other. You know, that's why when you hear the term like fraternity, like it is real. These guys came up in the amateurs. They all know each other. So that's what I'm saying. Like it may sound like jokes, but this might sound like some literal stuff, man. You know, because all these guys, they do talk to each other. You know, like Errol Spence said, he goes, yo, I got his number. He got my number. We have a dialogue. You know, they just know at this level it's business. We all know it's business. It's just a fan in us is like, all right, man, like let's get this done. So, yeah, man, let's just jump right into it because I mean, there's really not. I mean, the course of action this weekend is obviously Canelo and Danny Jacobs, but there is a fight on ESPN the same day. Why would you book? And of course, it's on ESPN. Why would you book a fight on May 4th? Any case, Artur Beterbiev returns. He's been out for a while. He's still like the guy that you forget has one of the other light heavyweight straps. He's got the IBF belt, and he is facing Hot Rod. Excuse me for mispronouncing this name, Radivoj Kalidatis, and that's gonna be on ESPN, as well as Jerwin Anjakas and Ryuichi Funai on that's on the undercard for the IBF Junior Bantamweight title. So there's fights on the same night. I don't know if that's just ESPN and Bob saying, you know. The zone has no subscribers. How's Bob do? Bob be on that no filter that no filter flow these days. Yo, did you see when he was going at Eddie Hearn like, oh, you're a terrible promoter, like right in front of his face? Yo, like,
these guys, he's an old grumpy man.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, he went crazy. So yeah, man. So there is like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, the one thing about the zone that I do like, and let me say this, I like the zone. Let me not like say this in the sense like I don't like the zone, but their cards, like when you used to order a pay-per-view back in the day, like you know you're paying, you know, well we came from the era of like only having to pay $50-$60 and then turn to 70, 80, 90. You only get 4 fights. You get what they call like the beginning, you know, the pay-per-view card. But there's fights like the usual card has like 13, 14 fights that start early in the afternoon that lead into the main event. And what the zone does is they start their telecast right from the very beginning and you watch it till the very end, which I like. I mean, you're paying, well, I'm still paying the $9.99, but if you start now, it's the $20. But you get that entire card, which, you know what, if you're paying that amount of money, man, like you might as well get everything. So I'm just going to go through the more notable fights until, you know, we'll talk about the main event. But Saddam Ali's on the card against Anthony Young. They say at welterweight. I guess he's going back down in weight. Jojo Diaz, Freddie Fonseca, Pablo Cesar Cano against Michael Perez. Virgil Ortiz Jr. against Mauricio Herrera. Now, this kid, Virgil Ortiz Jr., man, I've seen this kid fight. I think he's fighting under Robert Garcia. This this kid's pretty good, man. Get a chance to check him out if you haven't already on YouTube. He's fighting Mauricio Herrera. That's the co-main event. And then Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs, man. So ROD, man, like, we talked about the lead up of this fight. It's been kind of lackluster, even though, again, man, like, this is a fight that I don't want to say we ignored, but it's like we're coming to it now. And so I took some time to really soak this fight in. I'll give my opinion, but let me give me your take on the fight itself. And do you think that this might be a situation where people might be missing out on a really good fight?
Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a better fight than what people anticipate. I mean, isn't that always the case where you get these names and it slides under the radar and you're like, oh, you missed it?
Yep.
So I think it's going to be better than people anticipated. I think that Danny brings an element where he's always trying to prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since he got knocked out by I'm going to pronounce it exactly. And he was, man, how great was he, man? But he's always been trying to prove himself. I think you have Canelo, who's just trying to like assert his dominance on that division, and show people that Triple G thing wasn't a fluke, and that he is a force to be reckoned with, man. And I'm gonna tell you, I think it's gonna generate more fireworks, man, than we anticipated. I do believe, from a perspective of styles, it's a great clash because you look at how big Danny is. He's not Triple G size, and you look at the things the angles that Canelo bring, and it could work out, man, to be very, very great. Now I'm gonna tell you something. I like the slicker boxer, and I like the guy with the angles. And if you can tell me who that is, then to me that's going to be your winner.
I think I know who you're going with.
Exactly, because I just believe, man, that like, although I like Danny a whole lot, I think he brings a lot of fire. I like his New York attitude, man. Canelo, man, I'm telling you, people forget. I think Gervonta Davis said it best. He had a tweet, and this is the first quotable he had, but he had something that was really true. He said Canelo was like, he said something, I'll paraphrase it. He said he's the only young OG veteran out here that I like. Something like that. And when you think about it, you forget how many fights he has, but how young he is.
We've talked about this. You're right. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, like, he got more experience, man, than a lot of veterans, man. He the type of dude he come to your union job or your corporation, and you've been doing your job for 30 years, and he been doing it for 2, and he got so much experience. You're like, dang, how you know all this stuff? And he's like, man, I've been doing this. I've been doing this like at trade school. I've been doing this over here. So I think that he's gonna I think that I don't think he's gonna knock Danny out, obviously, but I think that he's gonna he's definitely gonna be outbox Danny. I just think he has more wrinkles to his game and more levels than Danny has, and he doesn't have to be. See, people get boxing mixed up, like, oh, well, Triple G is stronger than Canelo. Well, no crap, they got 2 different fight games, but look at what Canelo did to Triple G. It was a point in time, and I'll go back to it, Roberto, where you were like, in the 10th round or something like that, you were like, oh, he's about to knock him out. Like that? Canelo's about to stop him. So it doesn't, boxing is not a weightlifting contest. It's not a strongman contest,
Right. Exactly.
So that's where I'm going with it, man. I think that Canelo will win. Plus, man, where's this fight at again?
Oh, in Las Vegas, MGM,
There you have it. Yeah,
T-Mobile.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So let's face it, man.
It's funny, man. Like it's like you don't want to say that, but it's like you have to mention that, and only because it's because when it concerns Canelo Alvarez, and and again, like we don't want to say this to like um kind of put down Canelo's fight game because Canelo's a damn good fighter. And to your point as it relates to like, Gervonta Davis's comment, I equate that to kind of like, you got a dude that went 4 years, got his BA, and he goes and gets his master's, but he's only on the field for like a couple years, 2-3 years. Meanwhile, you have this kid that's your age, maybe, give or take a year or two, that's been on the job for like you said, like 10, 11, 12 years and just knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of this, that's how I look at Canelo. It's like he's learned, we've seen him develop on the job. I guess that's the best way to put it. He didn't really have an amateur career, got thrusted in very early to fight Floyd Mayweather, but like when you look at, I don't want to say so much of who he's fought. I mean, he's fought good guys. I mean, I don't get it twisted, but you have to look at the performances and you have to look at things that in certain fights he showed us things like, oh, like he showed me things in the Cotto fight. I was like, oh. Then he showed me things in this last Triple G fight that all of us, we were like, oh, so he can walk somebody down. Particularly the guy that was walking him down in the first fight. That showed adjustments. And a lot of that has been learned on the job. He didn't, Canelo didn't go to Harvard. He didn't, he didn't he didn't graduate cum laude and everything. It's like he learned on the job. And look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that there's some fights that he got favorable judging. We'll keep it 100 here. That 114 scorecard with Floyd was crazy. The 118 110 card with Triple G was crazy. The
The
Lara
Lara
scorecard.
card.
I'm sorry.
No, you just said the Lara card was crazy.
Well, I was gonna mention Lara. Like then the Lara fight. You can, you could argue a lot of those rounds, but again, that being said, like you can't. We're not taking away from Canelo's ability. The guy's a damn good fighter. Yeah, we've been critical, but I think in a situation like this, especially though the Triple G fight wasn't his last fight, he is kind of coming off of that, still. And I just think his confidence is just through the roof at this point. And Danny, I think, can cause problems if he's consistent and doesn't try to get into a firefight with Canelo, who's going to be trying to counter him. And I think Canelo's also, and Danny's good at this too, man. I think they're both going to try to play a game of trying to go to each other's body. And Canelo's really sneaky as far as getting on the inside and and he showed that in the Triple G fight. Danny's a better mover. It's just consistency, because there's certain fights we look at and it's like, the Solecki fight, you're like, but does he just show up for this fight against Canelo, man? I'm like with you. I just think there's wrinkles in Canelo's game right now that weren't there even last year. And with Danny, he's gonna be that tough fight, And even a fight with Jamal, man, like I would have still liked to have seen that, that is like a 50-50 fight to me. I just think Canelo right now is just, he's at the top of his game, man, and your confidence takes you far places, man. And also adding Canelo's the skill factor, he's getting better, and he could punch too, man. And again, this is gonna be the I want to say this is going to be the biggest puncher he's faced since Triple G, So let's see how that plays out because Canelo's gonna land on him. I like him. I like him, Canelo in this fight. I think it's a points fight. I think he wins probably like 116, 112. But Danny, I think Danny shows up in this fight, but we're gonna get shown again that Canelo's tough, man. Like he's not some guy that some of us even thought, even myself, can be just taken out like that. I mean, Canelo's tough, man. Like
No, he
you could,
is, and he has angles. And the thing about it that
right?
we forget, think about it, we forgot, man. Is that while we're talking about how like we're giving the analogy of how young but old, like the old young head that Canelo is.
Yeah,
Let's not forget, man. Danny is years older, man. He just gets
yeah.
older and older. So
Uh huh.
let's not put that out the window either, man.
I agree. And the other funny part too is that one of the I mean, I don't know if they've painted too much of a picture. I mean, they kind of have in one of these DAZN lead ups that they were doing that. At one particular time, Danny Jacobs was the golden boy under Golden Boy Promotions, man. I mean, he still signed Al Heyman, but this is when Al Heyman was working with Oscar. And at one point, man, this was the guy that they were trying to boost up there. And it's just ironic now that he's fighting the heir apparent to the golden boy that came after what they thought was going to be Danny Jacobs. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, listen, I think Danny Jacobs is always going to be that guy that will give anybody a tough fight, top to bottom. Whether it's Andre, whether it's Jamal, whether it's Triple G again, and he's always going to be that tough guy. I just don't know if at this point, and you mentioned the age, I don't know if he could really go to that next level, which is needed to beat Canelo. And look, again, I hate to bring this up, but it's if it goes into the 12th round and it's, I mean, dead even, or it's close or even remotely close, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but I have a tough time seeing Danny win on points against Canelo outside of a virtuoso performance, man. So it's like I hate to add that, but it's just that's what I'm saying. Danny, well, I guess in a sense, I'm saying that because Danny, in order to beat Canelo, where he's fighting Canelo, you just got to go to the next level. Like, period. Like, you got to go to the next level. So I like Canelo on points, man. I don't think he's gonna knock Danny out. I think Danny's gonna be ready, but I think it's like an 8-4 fight, maybe 7-5.
Yeah, and then on top of that, man, I haven't seen Danny get out of the way of any punches either. Let's be real.
But that's why I
A lot
mentioned
of
the Selecki fight.
yeah. So I mean, he got again, he he made out that Triple G fight being 200 pounds.
He said in this fight he's gonna weigh around 174.
Goodness gracious. Come on,
Well,
man.
his thing is you go up 10 pounds the next day, and then he'll have a meal and be like maybe 4 pounds up. I mean, from 160 to 174, I mean, that's good. I mean, him going up heavier, I mean, you'd think he'd be like more sluggish. He tried to do that with Triple G, thinking he'd be the stronger guy, but you know, again, like he only went to like a certain level. I think if he would have boxed more and was more consistent, that would have maybe pay more dividends for him. But does he do that against Canelo, man? But Canelo's a better boxer, so
Yeah, no, you're right, man. You're absolutely right.
I don't know, man. But yeah, that is this weekend, man, on the Zone. I will be, and look, I guess this is for the modern day, man. This is how I'm gonna go about watching the fight. Are you and Train getting together to watch the fight? Is he having it at the crib?
He is, he is. But we're gonna figure that one out because he's so happy about having the zone. He's trying to invite the whole world over there so he can. It's
So
almost
so
like
he can show off the.
you can show off. He got a new TV, so shout out to him. He wants to show the whole world. I'm just like, all right, we'll be over
Word.
there.
So yeah, man. Look, man, we're all jumping on board, man. Well, not all of us. Some of us are still like kind of doing the trial route, but um,
Definitely.
So yeah, man. This is well, as far as my situation, I'm DJing my aunt's 50th. Shout to my
Yeah,
aunt
happy
Joanne,
50th. Happy
and
50th.
she's and funny enough, she went to school with Buddy McGirt. Like they went in Long Island and everything. Like they know Spence's fam and they know Buddy's fam and everything. It's small world how I found that out. But um the thing is that some of us that are going to be at that party want to watch the fight, and the party ends at 9. So, I'm DJing the party, and I told everybody involved, I go, listen, we want to get back to this place to watch the fight. We got to help me break down this equipment, and
Exactly.
we'll get it on and popping. I got my box I'm bringing. Got the
Mhm.
zone already wrapped up on there. So in 2019, man, I could say that as long as you make some adjustments, the entertainment has or I should say the technology has made it where the entertainment can be you can acquire it from different places outside of just your TV or needing your cable and what have you, man. So, but that's pretty much it, man. We're gonna wrap up now. We both got Canelo by decision. I think Train had Canelo. I don't know if he had by knockout, but I mean, we all picked Canelo to win the fight. We'll be back next week covering this fight. The week after next, the return of Deontay Wilder against Dominic Breazeale, which will be taking place on Showtime. And lots of fights still in store, man. Like I said, we just announced Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz that will be taking place, and then the return of Gennady Golovkin against Steve Rolls. And I saw the interviews with Abel Sanchez as far as I think he did with Radio Raheem. It was like an hour interview, and it was woo. Wow. But yeah, any case, man. So yeah, lots of boxing is still in store. We'll be back next week talking about the recap of Canelo and Danny Jacobs. So until next time, follow us at Gargical Boxing on Instagram, facebook.com/GYG Boxing, at Twitter, or follow us at GYG Boxing on Twitter, and notifications, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And we are out until next week, man. Peace.